Hey guys, it's another cold day up here in the Great White North, so I've got the Jeep in the garage and we're ready to do another installation video. So today I've got my two helpers with me here. They're just taking 5 right now, but maybe we'll see them later on. So today what we're doing is we're installing this light bar. So I picked this up off Amazon. This is a Auxbeam 22-inch light bar. It's a straight bar. It's rated for 120 watts. Now this was 1/10 the price of a brand name light. So, you know, my expectations are tempered, I would say. We'll see how good this light performs once I get it installed. Overall, it seems to be pretty well constructed. It does come with these leg mounts. There are a few paint blemishes here and there, but it's not too bad. We'll see how this stands up to the salt and the weather. It also came with a harness, a wiring harness. So it's got a fuse, it's got a relay, and it's got the connectors. On the light bar itself, on the cable here, there are no connectors on here, but that's no problem. I think what I'm going to end up doing is actually soldering all this stuff together. We'll run the connection through the engine bay, through the firewall, and there's a switch that comes as part of the harness, and we'll get that mounted inside a Jeep. I'll have to find a good location for that inside. Okay, so let's get started. Alright, so the idea is to mount the light bar right on the bumper. So what I'm thinking is something along these lines. So what I'm gonna have to do is mount it on here, drill through the bumper, and then go underneath and fasten it to the inside of the bumper, and then of course run the wire into the engine bay. So that's step one. So the first thing I want to do is get rid of the air dam here, and that will give me access to look inside the bumper. So to get the air dam off, what I have to do is just take off all these tabs that are used to hold the air dam to the bumper. There goes one. Well, looks like we lost the helpers, that's for sure. They're piecing out. Alright, so looks like we missed a couple tabs. There's a couple tabs right back here that also have to be taken out. And there goes our air dam. She's out. Alright, so here's a look inside the bumper from underneath the Jeep. So the plan is to drill a 1/4-inch hole right through the bumper, right through the metal part as well as the plastic part, enough for a 1/4-inch bolt to go through, and that's how we're going to fasten the LED light. Alright, so to line up the bar, what I'm going to do is just going to tape off right along the edge here with some painter's tape, and then I can make my marks on it and drill through that mark. Alright, so let's take the light bar, and if we line this guy up on here the way we want it, if I just mark right through the openings of the feet, that should be my marks for where I want to drill. Alright, just to make sure here, I'm going to take my tape measure and just mark off the length here so I know what's what. So if I take my light bar and just put it on, get an idea where I want it, and I'm going to mark my spot where I want to drill. Alright, I got my 2 spots, and I'm ready to roll. Alright, so we're going to give this a try with a 3/8 bit and see if we can make space without a 1/4 bolt. Alright, now we've got our holes drilled. Just to make sure that the bolts fit, and this one does, and so does this one. We are ready to put the bar on. Alright. Alright, now that we've got our holes drilled, let's put the hardware on the mounting brackets here. So we've got our bolts, which we're using temporarily, like 5/8, I think 2-inch bolts. We'll put our little foot on here. So we'll just slide on the bolt. All right, let's get these things tightened down. And there isn't a lot of room here, but there is enough. All right, so now we've got the bar installed. We'll make final adjustments on the aim of the bar later, but we've got the bolts through. We've got the washers and the nuts underneath. Now the nice thing about using this size of bolt is that the head actually gets trapped in the foot or the bracket, so that you can ratchet on the nut from underneath the bumper, and you know, there's no problem holding the bolt in place so it doesn't spin on you. So that's pretty cool. Alright, so now we'll get this off and we can check out the wiring. I'm trying to figure out how to run the wire. So I'm just going to lay the loom out and kind of get an idea of how much we actually have here. Alright, so we've got, this has got to go close to the battery. We've got our relay and our fuse, and our power wire. And then we have, okay, the switch is pretty long, so it looks like we have lots of wire to work with. Okay, so now it's time to start thinking about how we're going to wire this up. So here's the wire from the light bar itself. We're going to figure out how to connect it to here. So it's got connectors on here, but I may just solder these two wires together. We're going to run it through here somewhere. I'm going to go along the passenger side, and we're going to get to our battery. We're going to install our relay here, our fuse, and then we'll have our ground wire, which is the red wire here, and our, sorry, that's the power wire, and the ground wire, of course, is the black wire. Then we have a switch coming off of that, and we're going to run it across right here. We'll probably pin it down along the existing wire loom across. And so here's the switch itself, and we have to feed that into the cab. So the way we're going to do that is, there is, since this is a manual, and I believe this is different on automatics, but this is a 2014 Rubicon that's manual. So we have a grommet over here, and that's kind of how it is when you open the hood. This is, I believe, the windshield washer fluid. It passes through here, and it goes to the rear window on the hardtop, so we just can pop that out. It's pretty easy to pop this grommet out, and then if you put your finger in there, there's firewall right there. It's metal, but if you go straight down, you can actually run the wire into the cab. It'll come out by the pedals. Okay, so here's our switch wire, and it's got a connector on it, so we just need to disconnect that so we can actually get everything through. So you just press this button over here, squeeze down, that comes right apart. So there's our switch. We're going to take that away for now, and just going to take the switch wire, put it right down in here. It fits in pretty well, and then we're just going to feed it all the way down. There it goes. We'll give it a bunch of length here. Now we might have to pull some of that back, but just so we can find it inside the cab. All right, so just we're going to try to find that wire now. So hopefully you can see, but it's right there. There we go. There's our wire. And so that'll allow us to, oh my goodness, that'll let us connect back up to the switch. All right, so I just got a couple panel pieces off here over in the dash area. So this is how I'm going to actually run the switch. So I just fished it through just this part underneath the steering wheel, and you can see it's coming out here already. So what I'm thinking is I'll probably want to mount it something like this, so it's out of the way. I won't be hopefully hitting it with my knee, and it'll be ready accessible when I want to use it. And there should be enough gap between the steering wheel columns, since I typically have it positioned the way it is now, to leave a gap for the wire so it doesn't get pinched. Okay, so that's the plan. Alright, so now that we've got the wiring harness roughly situated in the engine bay and run into the cabin, what I've done is I've removed the connectors that came off the light bar itself. And what I want to do is actually I'm going to solder these two ends together. I have got my heat shrink on here after tubing, so once I've got these connected together, I'm going to use the heat shrink just to seal up the connection. Alright, now that we've got everything connected or wired together, I'm actually going to make the connections to the battery and see if everything is working as expected before we tidy up the harness. Alright, so it's a 10 mil socket. So this one's tie up. Take off the negative here. Alright, so we've got the connection temporarily made. Looks like everything's working because the light is working. So I'm not sure that's picking up in the camera, but it is pretty bright. Looks pretty good. So let's see if we can shut the light here. It's got a pretty concentrated spot. We'll see how it is, I guess, when we test this thing. But it looks pretty good. Alright guys, so now that we've got everything wired up, I'll show you what this looks like. I just took the excess cord and I wound it up and zip tied everything together behind the bumper here. Just hid it away. You can see that's how it looks in there. So it's, you know, it's somewhat neat. Then we've got the wire over here, just going back, following another wire loom from the existing lighting, the fog lights there, and going into the engine bay. And then if we come this way, we can see this wire coming out over here into the engine bay along the side, and then we've got everything connected to the battery. So we've got our fuse, our relays in there, then we've got our ground or negative and our power wire, and then all this stuff kind of terminates here, and then we have the switch wire going along, just zip tied along the loom here, going across the engine bay and over to where we have our access to going through our firewall, which is on the driver's side again here, through this grommet here, and where we're going to come out. Alright, so now if we just go inside the cab here, so the wire is coming out by the pedals. I'm not sure if you can really see very well, but it's just coming up the side, and then we remember we popped off the dash here. These just pop out with snaps. It's really easy. There's lots of room here. You can actually put your finger in there to have the wire come out, and I just attached it to the column of the steering wheel. It's out of the way but accessible when I'm driving if I need to turn my lights on. If I do decide to add more and use this type of switch, I'll probably end up mounting them underneath the steering wheel column. There's still lots of space there. The alternate, of course, is to install something like an S-Pod or a pillar mounted light switching system, and maybe depending how things go, that's something to consider in the future. Alright, so we're just outside the Jeep a little bit here on a dark road, and just to give you an idea of what this looks like. So it looks pretty good. Just going to give you a bit of an idea from a bit off the side here. So this sucker's thrown off quite a bit of light. Now hopefully I'm not blinding the camera here, but that's a lot of light coming out of the light bar. Pretty impressive. Anyway, from my point of view, I can't see the Jeep at all. All I can see is the light. So that is pretty darn good. And that's actually pretty dirty, just with all the salt that we've been having here. So let me just do a quick improvised clean job here. Yeah, that's pretty darn good. I'm impressed. I'm just on a dark road here, and we're gonna throw on my new light bar, and wow, that's quite a bit of light. So I'm pretty impressed with that. That's looking pretty good. I mean, considering that this is 1/10 the price of a name brand, I'm pretty impressed with this light. It's throwing the light really well. Not sure how this translates on the camera, but Auxbeam, I'm pretty impressed. If this product lasts, I would say a year, then I'm going to be darn impressed, and I think it's well worth the money. Anyway, we'll see how it holds up long term. If you guys enjoyed this install video, definitely give me a thumbs up, and if you like the other videos on the channel, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.